the more you chase, the more it slips away. A lot of us see things in the results. We care so much about the results, how the outcomes should be, how we expect them to be. And we forget about the cause. We forget about looking at the cause, but not the result. And we also forget about the process. It is quite natural because when we focus on something, right, you would lose focus on other things. And so naturally, when we focus on outcomes, when we focus on expectations, when we focus on how things should be instead of how things could be, we lose sight of what it is. Right? What it is the process, is the change in everything. Change is, and a lot of the time we reject this kind of change. We try to control, we try to use control to minimize change, to minimize uncertainty. And through this process of, imposing control onto anything, onto anyone, we get trapped by ourselves, by our own expectations that we want something to be like that. So I can only go to point C when I have finished point B, so then I can move on to point C. But right now I'm at point A, so I cannot go straight to point C because I have to go to point B first, only then I can go to point C. That's what we usually would think in this way, isn't it? Right? It's like, oh, logically speaking, it should be like this. Right, it should be. We expect things to turn out the ways that we expect them to be. However, and this is what we are all here to learn, is that life is not linear. Life is full of all kinds of possibilities. And we're not here to limit ourselves. We are here to release all kinds of limitations. However, what we usually do is to put more and more limitations on ourselves, including adopting different kinds of beliefs that limit our own growth into our belief system. We also would make decisions that might not be for our best, well-being, but we would make such decisions because we think that's the only option that we have at that point. And when we believe that this is the only option that we have at a certain point, we are basically limiting all kinds of possibilities into one, right? We choose to believe that there's only one option. And so naturally, the universe would say, okay, I respect you because that's your free will. And so it is. You only have one option because you choose to see it that way. Well, so similarly, in the same logic, that is, if we choose to see it in a different perspective, now you say, oh, maybe I have more than one option in this situation, then you would realize that, yes, there are actually more options than I thought. Like I used to think there's only one option, or even I have no choices, right? And when we say we have no choices, or I have no choices, then yeah, you would not be able to see any other choices than the very fact that you choose to believe that you really have no choices left, because you have limited yourself to seeing the entire situation that you have no options, right? So it is all about the limitation that we set for ourselves to experience. And if you decide to open up and not to put on so much control, not to put on so much limitations on oneself, you might experience life differently. So the more that we control, the more things will slip away. It's simply because we're putting a lot of limitations, and the more that we limit things, the more that we narrow down to one thing, that means you're losing out all kinds of possibilities that could have come your way, but you decided to reject them. And that's why they all slip away. And now it comes to the very one thing that you expect to happen, that one particular outcome that you want it to happen that way. Do you think it would also slip away, or it would actually happen that way? Well, chances are there are two possibilities. One is that, yeah, it could actually happen the way that one expects it to be. The second possibility is that it could also not happen the way that one expects it to be. Yeah, because change is permanent, right? Change is what it is. So change is a constant in a sense, and it would always be present. It is the law of the universe, and it is how we are experiencing life here in such a wonderful way, because if there's no change, how would we experience life in such diversity? And so naturally, this one option, that is the one very last expectation that we hold so dearly in our hands, grasping it so tightly, it could also slip away, because change is the only thing that doesn't change. So yeah, that's it. So it really depends on how we see the world, how we choose to see the world, and how we choose to not limit ourselves or choose to limit ourselves. The options are infinite, yet if we choose to limit them, however you want it, it would become the way that you want it to be. So choose wisely and enjoy. Okay? Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and good night.